Hey all you Sabian Cymbalholics, welcome to this very special video. So I had the opportunity to visit the Sabian factory in Meductic, Canada. And for us Sabian Cymbalholics, that's like holy ground. We're here at the Sabian factory. Vintage.
Bob, should we sue?
Going through RZ's old office.
So I've died, and this is where I went. During my visit at the Sabian Cymbal Company, I had the privilege and the honor to sit down with the GOAT, Mark Love. Mark has worked over 40 years for the Sabian Company, started out as jack of all trades, worked his way up, and he became head of R&D. So during our conversation, we talked about all the different cymbals, the innovations, all the trial and error, all the things he came up with, working with artists. We had a really nice conversation. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Before we are going to watch the interview, I want to give the word to some people who have worked with Mark. So let's see what they have to say. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel Sabian Cymbalholics and keep an eye out for coming videos. Sit back. Enjoy.
Working with Mark Love at Sabian was always easy and exciting because you just knew that he had the ability to conjure sounds predicated on the flowery language of anything you describe, or if you wanted to change something, he just knew how to do it. And you know that it was going to be quick and fun and exciting and not laborious at all.
What can I say about Mark Love? The guy's a genius at a lot more than just cymbals. Mark's a very socially intelligent person, funny guy. I'm one of my favorite people to hang out with because he's so funny. Had a lot of laughs with Mark.
My name is Nort Hargrove. I'm here to say a few things about Mark Love, master cymbal specialist, a gentleman who I've worked for and with for 40 years plus, even going back into the ASCO days. And over those days when a percussionist or a drummer would come in, they would ask us different questions, but the one that always stuck in our mind was when they would say, I've got this sound in my head. I got this sound in my head. I keep hearing it. So we figured a way years ago to try to get the sound out of the guy's head and turn it into a cymbal sound at the end. And Mark certainly flourished in this department.
Hi, I'm Phil Maturano, and I just want to say hi to Mark Love. You're a beautiful guy, man. I must say it was such an honor to work with Mark at Sabian in Canada when we designed my beautiful cymbals. This is my very proud moment here to present the cymbals to the world, which caused a lot of inspiration for many different models of Sabian cymbals. This is the other one here from the custom shop, and I must say it's been such a beautiful thing to be able to do this with Mark, because he understood my vision. He really understood the sound that I needed. And
Mark Love was very welcoming to me when I came into the Sabian family with the crescent cymbal that Andy Zildjian so graciously bought and made us a part of the Sabian family. And now the HH cymbal, the hammer tone series, Mark and I really developed together with his knowledge and my knowledge of talking about what great cymbals were with legends like Papa Joe Jones and Mel Lewis and Shelly Manne, Jake Hanna, and bringing that into the hand-hammered mold of what a cymbal should sound like and feel like.
I'm just so grateful to you for the chance you gave me when you heard me out with the sound I was looking for. You know, that to me is one of the most beautiful things that you could do for a drummer.
My hat's off to Mark Love and everything he's accomplished in the short time he was here, the short time in the grand scheme of things, and those years just seem to go by so fast. And congratulations.
So congratulations on the retirement, Mark. I wish we still worked together, but I'll let you have your time away from a hammer. So even though the hammer is saying hello to you right now, thanks for all you've done for the cymbal industry and in particular for my cymbal. So congratulations, Mark.
I owe a lot to Mark because he saw something in me to give me the opportunity to carry the torch forward after his retirement, although I still talk to him quite regularly, as would be expected, and I'm very thankful for that connection as well. Mark's one of my close friends, and I'm so grateful for that more than anything.
I just wish him the best in his retirement, and thank you for all that you've done for me, for drummers, for the drum industry, and for music in general. You've brought a lot of music into people's lives, and that is to be celebrated. Cheers.
Welcome all you Sabian cymbalholics. Today we're in Meductic in the Sabian cymbal factory. I'm here with Mark Love. He's been with the company like for
43 years and a bit.
And a bit. Now retired.
Yeah, sort of. I'm still connected. I still come in a couple of days a month, but it's just part of the family.
Can you tell us how you got into Sabian? Where did your career start?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic, really. I wasn't. I graduated school and I worked on a farm and in the woods for part of a year, and I was working at a farm machinery place in Woodstock, and it was just a summer job. And I knew I needed something more permanent that was going to end. So I had an uncle that knew the manager of ASCO at that time, and he put a word in with him. He was a Willard Way. He ran an outfitting business in Charlie Lake, and but he was also the manager of ASCO. So my grandfather's friend put a word in, and Willard called me out for an interview, and I went out and I got hired. And at that time there was a few people that had just retired, 3 or 4 at once. They left ASCO, so I got a job. My first job was actually the logo machine. They put me in the vault, so I was putting, at that time, Zildjian on the cymbals and stamping them, and basically just fell into it. I wasn't a drummer. I'd never even played a lot of cymbals in my life, but I was put in that environment and kind of went from there.
Yeah. And you went from there. How did it evolve for you?
Well, I mean, at that time, at ASCO, we were making the A's, and we made some Canadian K's. But at that time, we didn't have a foundry, so we were dependent on the Zildjian companies. So they would give us a list of cymbals to make every 2 weeks. Right. So many 16ths in, so many 20 rides, whatever. And we would make them, and we would put the Zildjian logo on, and we used to put a little Made in Canada sticker inside the bell, and we'd fill these big steel boxes with the cymbals, and we would ship them down to Norwell, I guess at the time. Yeah. And they would send back castings, so we needed the castings for the next 2 weeks production. And it just went like that, and there were times when it would slow right down, and Willard would come in because he was running a woods operation as well, and he'd say, "Come with me," and we'd be out there cutting wood or planting trees or running equipment. But when things were slow, I'd pick up a drumstick and start playing, and I picked it up very quickly. And working with the guys that have been there, Nord Hargrove and Gabe Zilkin, who came from Turkey with Karapi and Ellie. Bob brought them over, and I just worked into it very quickly, and around them certainly helped. I learned from them, and then once I learned the basics, I kind of grew upon that and learned more on my own.
Yeah, because after stamping, logoing,
Yeah.
what was the next?
Well, then I got working into testing cymbals and picking orders. At that time, we did everything. It was kind of funny. Now we got departments for everything, but then we would get the cymbals in. We would test the cymbals. We would logo the cymbals. We would stamp the cymbals. Then we'd get orders, and we would pick them all. And at that time, we didn't have logo machines, so we would, except for the Zildjian. So we would have that on there, and then we had a board with hand stamps and an ink pad, and we would stamp that and stamp the symbol, and then we'd line them up against the wall and let them dry, because they had to dry. So very slow, and not a lot of production, but so we'd pick them, and once they're picked and dried, we'd put them on a cart, we'd bag them, and we would box them, and we would even load them on the delivery truck when it came. So we did everything in that room, once the cymbals were made.
Best way to learn.
Yeah, so you learn all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty basic in the early days, but after 79, I started in August 29th of 1980, and that's Avidus had passed, and Armand and Bob were running the company.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows the story, but they couldn't see eye to eye on how to manage it. One thought it should be this way, and so they came to an agreement to split the company, and Bob took the facility in Meductic, and basically had to start over because he was in his mid-50s at that time, but he wanted to give his children the same opportunity that he had in the business.
Yeah.
So he had to come up with a name, and that's past history, but the three children, Sally, Billy, and Andy, is where Sabian came from. It ended in IAN, which is son of in Armenian.
Yeah.
So it fairly fit. And I think it was Willie that actually came up with that. She wanted to tie the family into the name somehow, make it, because Sabian is it is a family.
It's a family business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the employees feel part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really felt that during the visit and the tour in the company. Everybody's so nice. It's so community-like.
Yeah.
It's like family, yeah.
You get, even families have disagreements and grumble and aren't happy
course.
all the time.
Lovers fight.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, especially the long-term people that have been here through it, and the ones that knew Bob Zildjian, when he would come in the morning, he would set his briefcase at the bottom of the stairs, and the first place he'd go was out in the plant.
Yeah.
And he would, joke with the guys, he'd tease them on their hockey team or whatever, but he had no filter, so if he thought of something, he just said it. But but it was, he cared.
Yeah.
Because without them, you don't have a company really. But yeah.
It's important to know what lives on the working floor instead of.
And Andy is a chip off the old block. Andy's very much like Bob, he enjoys laughter and joking, but he cares about the workers and the quality of the product we're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from that point, so the company became Sabian. Can you tell us about that period, how it evolved, and how you found your way?
Yeah, that it was hard going for a while because nobody knew who Sabian was. The early '80s. So it was 81 basically that Sabian started. So for the next couple of years, it was like hand to mouth. It was just slow, and I know we had people like Dave McAllister that were sales and marketing, and they were out beating the bushes as much as they could to get sales. And it took a year or two before Sabian was known. But then we started to grow like 10 or 15% a year. I think in '84 we made 45,000 cymbals a year, and we started to grow 10 or 15% a year every year. So we were growing and growing. And the old factory, we pretty much outgrew that. By '96 we were making 380,000 cymbals out of that, and it was so cramped it was dangerous almost. It was people going everywhere, and then the decision was made at that time to build a new factory, and that's where we are today. And we continued to grow, when we first moved over into this building, we said, what are we going to do with all this room? And then we built on 4 more times after that, because we kept growing and growing. And you know, we had plans in the early 2000s, 1 million cymbals a year. And you know, 2008 happened, and you know, things have really contracted since then and shrunk down. And a lot of the product we were making too in those days were the sheet product, as we call it, the B8s and the brass, the solar at that time, or SBR, so we could make high quantities of those very quickly. But we were still making large numbers of, you know, the AA and the HH at that time, and HHX and AX, which really, they were the modern side of AA and HH, that really took over. I mean, we still make all the series, but the modern style cymbals have become more popular.
Yeah. And in those 80s, you know, the company split. Did you have certain ideas, like product-wise? What are we going to do to make that difference? Like on the innovation side of things?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have been directly involved in those early discussions, but it was certainly, you know, it was a lot different then. I know when it would become time before a trade show, they would come downstairs and talk to us and say, well, what do you got for new product? Right. Which, you know, there was really no plan into that. But and we were always trying things and working on things. That's one thing that we were always able to do here. If we had an idea, we had the freedom to make it, to try it. So, you know, that's very important, because not everything that you have an idea for works out.
Yeah.
But the more you learn and the more knowledge you have, it makes it much easier. Like, if I talk to a drummer today and he describes a sound that he wants, based on experience, I know, well, to get that sound, I need this thickness, I need this bell, I need this hammering, I need this lathing, and then you work a few other details into that. So it's in your mind, you're making that cymbal as he's telling you what he needs.
Yes.
And you have to find common ground. You find a cymbal, okay, I like this cymbal, and we both agree that it has good stick definition, it has this dark tonal quality or whatever it may be, and from there, which way do you want it to go to create, you know, what you hear in your head?
Yeah, because it's difficult to explain, to capture in words.
Sound. So you need, like I call it, home base. You need a common ground. We both agree this sounds this way, feels this way. Now, where do we want to go to make it unique and new, and then we can take what we think we need and make a prototype.
Yeah.
And then from there, it isn't always the first prototype. It may be 4 or 5 down the road before you get exactly what you want. Yeah. And that typically happens, you know, with, you know, some of the projects, like working with Dave on the Evolutions, you know, it's like a year process or more. And, you know, because it's so precise, everything that you're trying to capture and the specifications that you want, because you have to have those very firm and written down, and everybody has to follow them
to keep the quality.
It's easy to make one great cymbal, but when you have to make thousands of that, you have to have it the recipe correct, and everybody has to be on board with how it's made. And
still, they're never the same. So
they're like snowflakes.
Yeah,
but they have to be within a spectrum of sound. Yeah. Because even though they're not identical, they can't fall outside of that framework. Or it's a different instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And within that range, it's like personal.
Yeah. Like we have a tolerance of weight, depending on the size. Could be from a couple ounces to a half a pound if it's a heavier cymbal. Yeah. But and the pitch has to be within a certain range. And you probably noticed we have a rack master cymbal.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So even today, when they're hammering a cymbal and lathing a cymbal, they come in and get that. And when we make a batch of cymbals, they have to make 3 or 4 and finish them, and then compare it to that one and get signed off on that it's the same. It's close enough within that to that master cymbal to pass. So, we still have to do that because it's easy if you stray a little bit and then a little bit and a little bit, and pretty soon it's not the same instrument.
Yeah, so it drifts.
So you have to come back to home plate every time to start.
Yeah.
And you also get new people that are hired, and they have to learn. Like, when you get 20 and 30-year-old guys that have been here that long, they know, but then you got a new guy that's been here a week.
Yeah, and they're like, because I've learned, like, the cymbal age, it lives, and I can imagine after 20 years, also the master cymbal has aged.
Yeah.
So
you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
A lot of it is visual too, how hard it's hammered, the profile has to be right, and then everything else will come if everything is right.
Yeah.
And it still has to sound good.
Yeah.
So we've got the process down pretty good, but it still have to stay on top of it. If you just back off for a while, things can slip on you pretty quick.
Yeah. The fun thing you just mentioned, that there was always room for innovation from people working here.
Yeah.
And like yesterday, the tour, Randy said to one of the employees, "Show me your baby," and he showed me a cymbal. I cannot talk about what it is.
Yeah.
But it was like he tried something.
Yeah.
And I hold it and I tapped it, and Randy was watching.
Yeah.
And he saw my face like.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And it's like...
That would be Rob, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe, but
yeah.
I could not talk about that, but...
Yeah. Well, that's good. We want people thinking. You don't want to just be standing there doing a job and not being able to be creative. You need to have that freedom. And, sometimes they'll draw a picture on a piece of paper and bring it in. Have you ever tried this?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't know everything we've tried over the years. I know when Randy started here, he'd keep coming to me with ideas, and I'd say, "Yeah, we did that 20 years ago." But it's you got to keep thinking.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to come up with something that nobody's ever done.
Yeah.
And we do that on our own, and then we're lucky enough to have artists that come to us with an idea.
Yeah.
Like Dave, Todd Sucherman, Neil Peart, Jojo. Jojo was a big one. Like, he's had a lot of great. I've worked with Jojo on many projects over the years. Very forward thinking.
Like the different cymbals he has, like the Omni and the Fierce and
stuff. With Jojo, it started out the Fierce. I think was the first thing we did, and that isn't. I suppose that's like 10 or 15 years ago now, but it doesn't seem like that long ago. And it was kind of outside of our comfort zone, I guess, when we wanted to make a very industrial sounding cymbal with the Fierce.
Yeah.
I remember his description when we were working on that is, I want it to sound like a passing subway train, the roar of it, the undertone. And I said, there's not many subway trains in Meductic, but
it's not your buttery or
no, just the opposite of what traditional cymbal was, up to a certain point. And then made Fierce hats and a number of things, and we got into the Omni later on, and that was very groundbreaking. He wanted that to be a cymbal that if I went to a gig with just one cymbal and a pair of hi-hats, this would do it. You had the bell, the ride, the crash.
Yeah.
Very versatile. Not that we want people doing that. We'd rather have...
buy 5 rides. No, but...
And then, Anthology, to me, is one of the most underestimated cymbals that we've ever built. Like, one of the greatest cymbals, and maybe, for whatever reason, price point or whatever, it wasn't totally bought into. We're still making it, but I think people should really check that out more. I think it's one of the best cymbals.
Symbian Cymbalholics, check it out. It's great. Okay, little advertising. Yeah.
I mean, there's all these stories with everybody that we've worked with over the years, so it's,
Yeah, it may be fun to get into that, because there are a lot of artists you've worked with. Can you remember, like, one of the first artists you worked with?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first ones that I was the front guy on was probably David Garibaldi, because he came, he wanted a cymbal. I remember when he was here, he had a raw dry ride, which was totally raw, and he had a vintage ride. and he played them together and said, "I want this cymbal in one cymbal. That's this sound in one cymbal." And with the dryness of one and the warmth and darkness of the other, we come up with the concept of the raw on top, so you get that dryness and that articulation, and lathe on the bottom.
Yeah.
So you get some warmth and spread, and that, and that was a popular cymbal for a long time. And then later on with David, we did that anniversary cymbal, the Soul Side.
Soul Side, right?
Yeah. Which is a great cymbal as well, a limited edition. So whoever's got them, you got a gem out there.
I've got a few.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many. I don't know. You should see I've always kept track of all the cymbals we made over the years, so I've got a timeline.
Oh, okay.
And I can show you that upstairs, but it's a lot. Like over the years, everything we've made. One of the other people that I worked a lot with was Jack DeJohnette.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his recent passing certainly brings that to mind.
Yeah.
But
somebody described it beautiful. Said the silence he leaves behind is louder than the applause he ever got.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
A great guy and groundbreaking. I mean, the initial cymbals, if you remember the black.
Yeah.
The black cymbals with white logos.
With the white logos. Yeah.
Jack could play anything and make it sound good, but
yeah.
We sold a lot of those, but they weren't for everybody by any means. And over the years, it progressed. His sounds got wetter and wetter.
Mm-hmm.
We moved into the encores.
Yeah.
And that was much. There was still some dry cymbals in there, depending on which model you're talking about, with that sanded finish. And
yeah, because how do you came with that idea? Is that something you just thought, okay, let's try, or was it his idea? Or
yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. Whose idea it was to try it, I can't remember exactly, but it's that sand blasting that we did to those. It's kind of like hammering in a way. Even a lathe cymbal, if you do it to it, it's putting little dents in the surface, so it dries it out a little bit. So he was still linked to that dryness. Some of the models, like the 22 and 20, were just raw cymbals that were done, and then there was a 21, and all the crashes and the hats that were lathed and done. But they looked the same, but they were very different instruments.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had a 21 you liked and you wanted something bigger and you went to a 22, it wasn't the same at all. It was totally...
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
It was lathed underneath.
It was fully lathed and then sandblasted, and the 22 and the 20 were totally raw. So they were thick and dry and hard, and so they were made much different. But he wanted those voices to be different, so he could have a 20 and a 21 or whatever, and have two total different voices when he played them. So and then his sound progressed even more. We did the 3-point ride, which was a nice jazz cymbal basically, but and a lot of things never saw the light of day that we did with Jack. Like we made 3-point crashes and 3-point hi-hats.
Oh, okay.
And he would play them, and we were always sending prototypes to him. He'd call up on the phone and he would say, "I want you to hear this," and he would be playing this cymbal on the phone, and you're holding it out. I would go, "That sounds good, Jack," but you knew what it was because you sent it to him, but you couldn't really. It just was a roar on the phone. You couldn't really.
At different times. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot of good memories there for sure.
Yeah. And then the last one, Shimmering 75.
Yeah, the 75th. Yeah, and that was still moving in the same direction, a little wetter.
Yeah.
More open, but very beautiful, like a nice shimmer sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's another gem, like the Soul Side Ride, and, there's certain ones out there that are very precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cymbal.
Yeah. Do you have one of those?
I have 2 of them, the original ones.
Okay.
And I found one prototype.
Okay.
So,
good for you.
They're so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really gems.
You'll have to open a museum here pretty quick. You're getting a good collection.
I'm getting started. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. And if I mention another name, like the Ed Thickman cymbals.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about those? How were you involved?
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
Okay.
we did Ed was really into a lot of the flat rides.
Yeah.
We did two different versions. We did a lot of different sizes and things, and I can't remember actually what made it to market, but I think it was 18, 20, and 22 in the Ed Thigpen ride. And then we did a crystal bell ride, which had the bigger bell and a sound controlled edge a little bit, so that was a nice cymbal as well. So,
but very rare. You can hardly find.
Oh, is that
those.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, flat rides typically aren't big sellers anyway. I don't even think we even have one in our catalog right now, but over the years we've made a number of them that they seem to come and go.
Yeah.
And the popularity of certain drummers come and go as well. But I mean, Ed's he was iconic, groundbreaking, and you hear a lot of people referring to his playing and his style and how he approached it. So it's.
I think I heard Jack DeJohnette say that he liked the shimmering 75 cymbal. He wanted to go further with that sound.
Yeah.
They were friends, and he liked that sound of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like that. It's actually my favorite cymbal of all the cymbals ever played. The 18-inch crystal bell.
Okay.
I've got one brilliant paper thing.
Yeah.
Beautiful cymbal.
Right. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, no, they were good. I often joke and say you could start a cymbal company today with the cymbals we don't make anymore. I mean, the ones that have come and gone. I mean, and a lot of people, Sabian's over 40 years old, and they never had the opportunity to see or hear those cymbals. So it's, it's something for Sabian to think about down the road. I mean, it could be a, I don't know how you'd market it, an iconic series or something, but they could look at it.
It's like a blast from the past.
Yeah.
A lot of beautiful gems.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. But it's market-wise, it's difficult. It will be really for the enthusiasts, for the collectors, for the Sabian cymbaholics. You can send your request to Sabian. So, and another name like Terry Bozzio.
Oh yes, that's another story. You bring a lot of memories back with these names. Yeah, I remember Terry came here, and he had a drawing on, I think, a napkin on a plane. He had a drawing of a cymbal, and all the lathe lines were going from the cup out instead of in circular like a lathe spins. So how do you make straight lines? But he was a big Paiste Visions player, and he came here with the idea, and at that time, I mean, that was a big move to get a name like that on a roster, so we said we'd do it. And it was a major undertaking. He played 50 cymbals on his kit, 50 or 52.
Yeah.
I mean, so many stacks and variations. So he came here, he brought his full kit, he brought his tech at that time, Wayne Wilbur was his drum tech, and we set that whole kit up in the vault downstairs. And then we spec'd out what we thought we needed for each model, and we basically shut production down for a whole week. We had to make 20 of every one of them. That's 1,000 cymbals. So we had stacks of all the thicknesses and the sizes and the profiles, and then we had to figure out how to lathe them. So we didn't have any way to put it on a machine and lathe it, so we took a lathing tool, and we took a cup and we bolted it on the top so we didn't scar the cup, and we made rings and we put on the outside edge. And when we took a knife, the lathing tool, and scraped from the base of the cup out. So it took, depending on the size of the cymbal, it could take almost up to an hour to do one cymbal. So
some traumatized employees walking around here with big arms.
So we made those first few. We spent a whole week just specking it out and getting things where we needed, and Terry'd be on the floor. I should have brought in some albums. I got pictures of him on the floor.
Wow.
Checking all the notes and playing them, and then we spent a whole week, and I think we had a long weekend coming up, and we were looking forward to that as production because we had a tough week. And Terry said on Friday night, you know what? We're so close. I think I'm going to stay another week. So we worked through the whole weekend. We had a few people come in from production, and he was there himself doing it.
Okay.
Nice. And Wayne and myself, and scraping, and so we had 2 weeks solid, and we got a whole kit done. And then he said, "I have 5 kits. all over the world.
Yeah, every continent, one kit. Okay.
So after we get up off the floor,
Yeah, but I think that's like really what defines Sabian. Like you told, the family vibe. You go a long way for your artist, but also for me as a customer, and to say, go all the way.
Yeah.
I think that's really, it's a big difference, and that's what people feel in the product.
yeah, no, that was a major undertaking. And Radia, you know, it sold okay. No, it again, like maybe Jack's original cymbals, it wasn't for everybody. Like, you know, it was, you know, if you're into stacks, which are very popular today, maybe he was way ahead of his time at that point.
Yeah,
because you know, stacks weren't as popular then. It was something you'd take a couple of broken cymbals and put together and come up with a sound. But
Yeah.
I mean, he played, you know, everything was a bigger cymbal and a smaller cymbal inside of it, basically, right? So it was,
And a lot was pitched, like
yeah, oh yeah, it was very, you know, it was, you needed to have the high to low in order, and everything had to work well. And then the little cup chime, we still sell those today. I mean, that's still in our catalog, the Radia cup chimes.
Yeah.
You know, they're still popular. So, you know, it was pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Did you ever got a request from an artist or maybe a customer? Don't say names, but that you think, well, it's just impossible. We cannot make that sound. We cannot make that cymbal. The things that you say, we try, but it's.
Well, sometimes it just goes against the laws of physics. They'll tell you, I want a cymbal to weigh this much and this size and this sound, and they just don't line up. They're just
Like a 22-inch splash.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's, you know, we're honest with them. We have a good idea what we can do, but if we think it's at all possible, we would try. And for years we did custom shop. Where you could call and say, and I'm sure you've done it.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
A lot of people are hoping it will be
Yeah.
brought back, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
To put that labor in one order. So
Yeah, and we had a lot of success at it, but again, it's, you know, I don't know that it's very profitable. Like, it's a good to-do for the customer, but you're like any artist, and we try to treat every drummer the same, even you're not, you know, Dave Weckl or you're not Todd Sucherman, but we try to treat you the same as we would them. I don't give any preferential treatment to, you know, a big name necessarily. I mean, we try to please everybody as much as we can.
yeah.
I mean, we certainly need the big names for our
for
roster,
marketing.
but yeah. But no, we try, and that custom shop was a way that any drummer could bring their ride. They could create a cymbal, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it was on us to interpret what they're saying a little bit, but not as much back and forth as you would with working with an artist. But it certainly gives them the opportunity to make a cymbal that they envisioned.
And after that, it was like the sound check. So there's a lot of cymbals in the vault. So, like Randy told me, we can make things to your specifications, but I doubt if your sound is not in this room.
Yeah.
So it was like searching. So you went searching for the customer. Also, nice idea.
Yeah. And you know, you've been in our R&D room, Area 51. I mean, it's like you said, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's there's thousands of cymbals. I always like to say the history of Sabian is in this room.
Yeah.
Because a lot of everything we made sits in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And even though we get dealers and drummers coming and taking out lots, it's still lots. Like in the corner, there's boxes over there. The original Radia masters are in the corner, still sitting there.
Yeah. Somewhere in the attic, I saw the attic, not attic. Somewhere in the attic, I saw like the boxes of that Terry Bozzio kit. He played with the full cymbal.
That's just outside the room here.
That kind of stuff is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But also in the vault.
We've kept it together. I don't know if it would ever get set up again, but everything that he played was there. And that's another good thing to mention. Like, these guys, these drummers that come and we do all this work for them, they're very appreciative. Like, when we did the Radia initially, he wanted all the workers off the floor to come in the vault when he played for the first time.
Yeah.
And they were hanging off the racks, and you know, they appreciate that too, because they can see their work, how it's used and how it's expressed.
Yeah, he wanted to give back.
Yeah, and then at a later date when he came here and he wanted to make a whole drum set with nothing but cymbals. So that took quite a few days just to be put together. and then we set it up in the lathe room, and he played. The video you see on YouTube is him playing out there. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, mind-boggling.
Yeah, just to be able to do that.
Yeah. What could you say was one of the most innovative things you came up with? Things that you're really like proud of? You say this cymbal.
Yeah, that's like saying who's your favorite child. You know, over the years.
We won't tell the cymbal.
Yeah.
Don't listen.
I don't know. There's certain funny things like when I come up with the chopper.
Oh yeah.
Like just a disc, and I brought my jigsaw from home, and I just in my head I had a vision of how I wanted it to look, and I was cutting them with that jigsaw, and cutting them out, and people would walk by, what are you doing? You know, and made a bunch of prototypes and come up with the right thickness and the 3 layers, and finally come up with that chopper sound, that stack sound.
Yeah.
And what worked, and we found that the rough edges on the bottom from the jigsaw is what gave it the sound. If you sanded that off so it was smooth, it had no sound, or very little.
Okay.
But it's a rough edge. That's why we have to rivet them together.
Yeah.
Because they would cut you if they're apart.
Yeah, if you take from them.
Yeah. So, I don't know, that's one thing.
Maybe for the lead singer, if you don't like it, you can throw it.
I mean, that's probably not a good example. I mean, working with Dave on the Evolutions, and very proud of the stuff we did with Neil Peart, the Paragons. Sometimes it becomes a relationship you have with them as much as a product. Mm-hmm. Like they get appreciative, they're appreciative, and they, you know, I get invited to concerts, and just being, you know, you feel the pride, I guess, when you get to experience, and it's not just me. Maybe I contribute, but it's the workers, you know, what goes into the instrument, and then they're expressing that in music.
Yeah, everybody's a part of it.
Yeah, and Jojo certainly, you know, very proud of what we accomplished is, you know, creating all those instruments. You know, the Omni's still a great popular cymbal today. You know, and that the test of time is what tells you what the public perceives as a great cymbal. You know, when you're 20 years in and they're still wanting it. Yeah. You know, it's you did something right.
Yeah, like the Evolution series.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's I can't think of everything off the top of my head, but you know, a lot of the artists and cymbals. You mentioned Artisan Elite. Yeah. You're a big fan of that. I mean, to me, that was a great cymbal. Yeah. And you know, at some time, hopefully, we can bring it back.
Yeah. You made me one at 24, and on the bottom you wrote down it's you've got the best taste in cymbals, something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah. Still have it. It's one of my
awesome
favorite cymbals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they're great. You know, a lot of things we do too, like when we did the campaign, the Big and the Ugly, Big and Ugly, you know, that a lot of great cymbals in there, but again, a lot of them are hand hammered and expensive, and you know, sometimes that large and expensive doesn't go very well for long term. But then the Monarchs that we do today are still, you know, still in our catalog. They're a great cymbal as well. And we had the Apollos, and we did one called the Muse, M-U-S-E, very limited. It was made AAX style, and the only ones we actually sold were at the Guitar Center for a short period of time. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
I've seen a few online, but it's a rare. They are rare. But I think in general, the Big and Ugly, they were really underappreciated. They were great cymbals. Yeah. Very nice with the colors, with the patina. Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, and that's something innovative. Too. We wanted them to look different. We had a special treatment that we did to them to make them look. Everyone was very different as far as looks. Yeah, the artwork almost looking on the surface. Yeah. But
about artwork, the new Peart, those limited.
Oh yes, that was quite a project. Yeah, and I have pictures of that too. I remember up here on the floor having them all laid out like on his kit. Yeah, and you know. Yeah, that it looked amazing. It matched his drums, and we had to find a way to do it that didn't take away from the sound, because you're putting ink on a cymbal. So we had a lady in Woodstock that made a template for us, and to fill that in, we did it on a printing machine. We just made a square, and we transferred the ink like we had to do it hundreds of times to fill it in, because if you just rolled ink on, it was too thick. So we had to print it, and it, time consuming as well.
I actually noticed it yesterday, because there's one in the vault, China.
Yeah.
Randy took it from the bag, showed it to me, so I'm gonna steal that later.
Yeah.
But I noticed like the printing on the edge, it's like they're over.
Right. Okay.
Lapping. Yeah. So I noticed. Hey. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's how it's done.
Yeah, it was filled in that way, and then we'd peel the template off, and it would have the image on there. I have one that Neil signed. I have it framed at home.
Wow.
And thanks for working on this project and da da da. Like it's, so I've got quite a few things, memorabilia from him and a few other people that I cherish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, cymbals and the product is one thing, but the relationships and the process around it, that's where the magic is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
About magic in cymbals, you've played cymbals now for all your life. You're not a drummer.
No.
There are some interesting things about that. What is for you the magic in a cymbal? Not just, crash, sounds nice, but more on the maybe emotional side of things?
Yeah, I mean, when I play a cymbal, I mean, I feel as much as I hear. Like if you put a cymbal on a stand, you hear what the cymbal emits. But if you pick up a cymbal, I don't know any cymbal, but when you play it, you feel as much as you hear. And when we test cymbals, we always hold them on our finger.
Yeah.
Because if a cymbal is a little warped or a little out of shape, you can feel that. From experience. You learn that. I know when Randy first started here, he thought we were crazy when we tell him that, but he soon learned that, but that's a big part of it. And from experience, like just walking through the lathe room, just looking at a cymbal, we know if it's too high or too low, because we're used to looking at them every day and you handle them every day. But your normal drummer is not going to pick up a tall on that.
No.
But no, it's an experience. Every cymbal, you know what is expected out of a certain design, and when you're playing them, and what you feel is, it's impactful.
Yeah. So you really trained your left hand and your right hand. Always curious. I think a lot of people curious.
Yeah, I
Can
mean,
you do it the other way around?
Yeah, I mean you could, but I mean, and I played a little at drums, but I don't know, just the way life works out. I mean, I've got a set of drums, a Sonar set home, but my son took it, and but I also have a farm, and I was always seemed to be more interested in working than maybe playing drums, and I don't know, there's a certain part of me that thinks that I think differently by not being a drummer than if I was a drummer. No, I don't know, that could be negative or positive, but certainly I think my record shows that, I did okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
and what's the difference? Can you explain how you feel like with working with an artist or with a customer?
The difference? I don't know. I mean, you admire an artist and what they do, and you can build a relationship, but you can do that with an individual too. We've done some very great things for just drummers that come to visit, take a tour, and they have a certain sound, and we just try to accommodate them. Maybe we go in Area 51 and you pick something out. I like this, but it's a little too dry or a little too heavy, and I'll say, okay, come with me. We go out in the factory, and I'll say that, and I'll lay this or hammer that, and create exactly or much closer to what you're thinking, and that's very impactful when you can do that and they're right there. And And another good example of that is the vault tours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you're in Holland, but I mean, we did that all over North America.
Yeah.
You know, I got a team of us got to see all the U.S. We worked hard. We had a lot of fun, but we traveled all over North America.
Yeah.
We go to a drum shop, and we would make cymbals there. We, you know, take the blanks, so we would hammer them, lathe them, right in front of them, and they, you know, and we did that. 2004 was the first year. We did 6 stops, and Dom Famularo was with us at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of every day, he would play, and it was great. But we found out that as soon as he started playing, sales stopped.
Oh yeah, yeah, because
we made cymbals at the store, but we also took like 100 or more prototypes to set up to sell out of Area 51. Like we had, when we packed the truck up, we had like a dozen carts full, and we had to box so much we had to divide it up for every stop.
Yeah.
So they have equal amount of rides, crashes. They were all a bit different, but you know, give them a good selection. So we're making cymbals and we're selling cymbals, but even today, people talk about going to one of those and how impactful it was, you know, for the store and for the individual. So, I mean, that's kind of a way of what we do for artists. It's something
to
we
bring
did is take it to the customer on the street.
Yeah.
And we, you know, and it's hard to measure the good it did because you're not making money when you're taking 7 or 8 guys and traveling, hotels and fuel and meals and all that. I mean, you're not making money at the time, but I think over time, people are going to stay loyal to you.
Yeah.
They know you're trying to do what's best for the drumming community.
Yeah, you're investing. And it's sales is important to keep the thing going, but it's a really nice gesture for the drum community. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I believe maybe it's after Meet the Masters, it's like the cymbal vote, like the same idea. But
Yeah. That was challenging in a way, because we'd say, okay, we need to come up with 10 great cymbals that are different than anything we make today, and we're going to put them out there, and we're going to let people vote on them, and the top 4 are going to be new models. And you know, I'm trying to think, there was one of them that was very hard to make. Just trying to think, maybe it was Sick Hats.
Oh yeah.
Just a lot of all the punching and aiming and everything, and it was apparently doing very well, and we were joking that we got to get on there and vote it. But eventually, maybe it didn't win initially, but it was so much in demand that we introduced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I think we still make some. It's not a big seller. 18-inch hi-hats aren't that popular, but
no, but it's specific for some.
And
music.
we did 10-inch as a small run there for a while, but no, that was good, and I like that. I like that campaign because it got you thinking of, you know, more things that you could make and pushing the envelope in different directions. And there was no rules. I mean, some of them are crazy.
Yeah.
Manta ray, like the odd shaped thing.
And the how do you call it? The shredder kind of thing?
Shredder. Yeah, actually that shredder was an idea that a friend of mine, Terry Lesperance, brought to me. He's a drummer in Nashville. Not famous necessarily, but a really nice guy. And he asked me, like he knew about the holes, he said, can you do just on the edge? And we took like an extreme cymbal and we put the notches on the edge, and it looked really cool, and it would be a shredder if it was hit the wrong way. But and that's one cymbal I wish we could have added to our catalog, but it's had quite a challenge in making it consistently and not sharp on the edges. Where on ozone, the edge protects the edges of the holes. But you know, we made 16, 18, 20, and we actually took those on some of the vault tours, like a set or 2 for each stop, and they all sold. They were
because it's like innovative and different. You've never seen. I think that's also with when the Evolution came with the ozone.
That's another good point, because up until that point, we were really the first cymbal company that put holes in cymbals other than the center hole, and maybe the flat hats, quick beats that Zildjian had, they had 4 little holes in it. But and that, that was really groundbreaking. I remember the story behind that was we just kind of fell upon it. We were punching out badges for something, whether it was a drum company that wanted to put them bronze badges on, and the foreman, Blair Davison at that time, punched one out evenly, and he brought it in and said, "What do you guys think of that?" And wow, like really how that came to being is you've heard different versions from different people, not all accurate, but
nice
that's how it started. And then when Dave was here working on Evolution, we showed that to him, and that a light bulb went on, and
because such different sound between the China and the Crash. It's just
we've added that to most series now, and it's been copied everywhere by everybody.
That's
I don't know
that's flattery.
I don't know how you patent a hole, but we should give it a try.
Sorry, there are donuts, and
speaking of that, then we found, large holes do this in this configuration, and then we worked with Chad Smith on the Holy China, and we discovered that this size hole on this profile makes a cymbal louder. So we, that Holy China, then we did the Arrow crashes, and still today, we got those in the complex Arrow now, and
the FRX.
And that's another. I was just looking at one over there, the FRX, the small holes. That takes 3 or 4 decibels off the initial attack, which is significant. In that cymbal, we were working to find a solution for praise and worship. Like churches and we wanted to create a cymbal that if you were in a small club, small room where traditional cymbals are just a little too loud, that this would work. You don't have to change the way you're playing. You don't have to play lighter. You just play the same, but the cymbals stay quieter.
Low volume.
They're not low volume. They're not like practice cymbals. They're like just a reduced volume cymbal. But so again, that's
it's quite innovative, because
making the first prototypes, I would spend days. I'd spend days. I had to drill all these by hand initially, and you couldn't do it as consistent as that. So, but you get the idea of what it was doing to the sound, and then once we come up with the concept, we had to build a machine to do the punching. And that was another project. I spent a lot of weeks in Quebec working with a manufacturer to make the machine, and it does a great job, very unique.
Also like the very innovative. Patent pending. And another thing like this innovation.
The freak crashes where we're doing some of the grinding that kind of makes the cymbal a little more controlled there. And do you remember the SR2s? I don't know if they were shipped much out of North America or not, but
not so much. But I've seen them.
I mean, we did this treatment on that program. Was we take return cymbals, like if artists use them at a clinic or something, and they come back and good cymbals. We didn't want to cut them up, so we wanted to find a way. And some of our Area 51 cymbals, we wanted to find a way to make them unique and still be able to sell them. So we would put this treatment on and then line over it. And we tried to simplify the process so it didn't matter which series they were. They could be XSR or they could be artisan, anything in between. And it was like a treasure hunt when you went into a store. You may be able to tell something by looking at it, but we had thin, medium, and heavy. That's in whatever sizes, 10 to 22, and you could go in and play them, and if it sounded like you wanted, and it was a reduced price, and we saved that cymbal for somebody. It's something we argue about today that we should bring back, and maybe at some point we will, but it started with this, and then we knew how to do that, so and then we lined over it to make it unique. There's something unique about that too, not that it matters much, but you can't scratch the cymbal where that is. Like if you normally you run a cymbal across the cymbal, you can scratch it, but
Oh,
It doesn't scratch.
wow. That's a funny detail. Yeah.
Not that that matters, but
And with this innovation, is it first the idea, let's try and see what it does with the sound, or do you think, hey, I'm looking for a sound, this is the way to get there?
probably this is the way to get there. But then you have to decide how much you do and what thickness. Do you leave that raw or do you lathe it? Like you have to work out all the details. And even you can't do that too much because you can overheat the cymbal.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line. It's a skill. It's got to look good too. Which if you do it too fast, it doesn't. If you do it too slow, it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Like it. There's.
So it looks really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
smooth, really
Yeah.
appealing,
Yep.
appealing. Yeah, very nice cymbal. Yeah. How do you feel if you like don't play a cymbal for 2 weeks?
It doesn't feel like I've been away very long when I just pick up a stick and because I still come in a couple of days a month.
Yeah.
And like today is just dropping in. If someone's here that I know, I come down and whatever. But it doesn't take long to get right back at it. Like I could come back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
But do you miss it if you don't play it? Do you?
I miss being here. Yeah. But there comes a point other things you want to do and.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to stay connected, a little bit. But it's been a couple of years, and not everything we're talking about is fresh in my mind. But when you mention something, it kind of all comes back.
Yeah. What are like some of the best memories if you look at your career? What's the memory you say? Oh, I remember this. I cherish this.
Oh. Well, I'm working with Neil, and the dinners I had with him, and got invited to concerts, and just being able to hang with him a little bit. Certainly cherish that. I don't know. A lot of times we would be in big meetings, and you would get confirmation of your contribution from guys like Jojo and Dave Weckl and Garibaldi and Todd, like that makes you feel proud. So certainly big moments, but I'm sure there's many more.
Yeah.
I mean, even over at the fishing camp, like Bob was an avid fisherman.
Yeah.
And still Andy carries on the membership at the Salmon Club, and he invites us over, once or twice a year, and just being part of that is being part of Sabian, really. I mean, it's a way to do business. Sometimes he brings people in from, customers and
Taking fish.
yeah. I mean, what better and sitting around the fireplace at the end of the day and chatting and telling stories.
And a drink. Yeah.
And Bob was always a great storyteller. Like he was the center of attention, and he would tell all these stories and history, lessons and certainly great memories there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had some great stories about that.
Yes. Yeah.
So and now you pass the torch. You've got Randy.
Yeah.
Randy Ross.
Yeah, no, Randy's amazing. If we had sat down, not knowing Randy, if we'd sat down and wrote what we want qualities of a replacement to have, he has all of them and more. Like, it's a big learning curve when even though he's a drummer, coming in here to learn 40 years worth of history and knowledge. It's a lot to learn. And I worked with him day to day for over 2 years, and then finally, step back, and he has to take over. And I think if you talk to him, he's gonna, there's some challenges, and probably still is. There's always challenges, even me day to day. I mean, it's busy, and there's a lot of things going on. You're pulled in many directions. Because you're very much associated with marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Because you got to stand up in front of the dealers and talk to them, and you got to talk to our team.
Yeah.
And
you're right in the middle.
You're right in the middle. Yeah.
And dealing with the artists.
Yeah. And there's things that you think you should do, and maybe it's not, what the company feels is the right direction at that time.
Some business side of things.
Yeah,
and the
yeah. I
emotional
mean,
side
it's a
of things.
business. It's the end of the day. If they stop making money here, you know, it goes away.
Yeah.
So you know, you have to balance everything. You have to balance the business, and you have to balance the manufacturing and relationships and.
And I think you need those challenges to function, to do this job.
And Randy's brought a lot of expertise that I didn't have, like the IT side of things, because he worked in IT as well.
Yeah.
So this room, you know, he's behind all the sound and everything there. So he's very good at that as well, which is a huge thing. Before we used to do a video on a cell phone or something and send it, and sometimes even though you had mics, the quality wasn't where it should be, but now we can capture it exactly as it is.
We're in a great recording booth.
Yeah, so you know what you hear is what you get. And a lot of the cymbals we send to people, instead of sending them and finding out it's not quite right, we'll record them first, then send them, and they'll say, okay, that's it, and or not, and so you save that shipping back and forth, and
the green footprint,
and that making it that personal too. If you want a cymbal and I send you a video of it, wow, they did that for me.
Yeah, I really like getting those videos.
Yeah,
back and forth, and
So that that's even though we did it before, Randy's really raised the bar on that, and I hope he stays for 40 years. But
yeah, and in 40 years we'll sit again here. Yeah. What do you think is the future for Sabian? What do you think? You have some ideas how it's going to evolve?
Well, I mean, I think it's just. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil in the world today with tariffs and everything that's going on. I mean, I think Sabian is going to continue to make great cymbals, and I mean, there's a lot of competition out there that wasn't there at one time. So I think as long as they make great cymbals and keep moving forward and being innovative, that they'll be here 40 years from now. And we just need the right team together and the right philosophy and be in the right mental place, and it'll do well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your time.
No, you're very welcome.
Maybe something you want to say to the Cymbalholics?
Well, I just thank all you guys for being Cymbalholics out there, and all the cymbal fans and drumming fans, and I appreciate what Bass is doing. He's really building this community, and it's really invaluable, everything he does, so keep following this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.